Hey guys, Crafty here, and today I am bringing you Dungeon Roll. Now, Dungeon Roll is in a prototype stage. It is currently being funded on Kickstarter at the moment. As you can see, all of this is pretty much just printed out versions. They recently released a whole bunch of files where you could print out some of the die faces on label paper and stick them to die faces, and as you can see, I have custom dice right here. Dungeon Roll is a adventure dice game, if you want to put it that way, where you assume the role of a hero, one of 8 heroes currently. There will be more, released in expansion packs. And you take adventurers here down into the depths of a dungeon where you defeat certain kinds of monsters. And by doing so, take back treasure and experience to win the game. Now, what you do at the beginning of the game, you select one of the 8 heroes at random, and some of the heroes we have here. Obviously, these are all prototypes, no artwork, and just very basic minimal stuff. You have half-goblin, you have an occultist, you have a knight, you have a mercenary, a spell sword, minstrel, crusader, and enchantress. I don't even know if these are going to be the final versions of the names, but they work for me. And on the back of every hero, once you have 5 experience, turn it over, and you have a leveled up version. Now, every hero has a specialty and an ultimate. The specialties may be used at any time that would make sense to use. So for this one, for example, you can use a fighter as a cleric and a cleric as a fighter interchangeably. And this one transforms scrolls to any party die face at any time. So you take your heroes, and let's say we have the... Let's go with spell sword here. Now you have your specialties and you have your ultimates. Ultimates can be used only once in a game. So when you use your ultimate, you turn it to the side to exhaust it to show that you use the ultimate. Once you level up to 5 though, however, when your character flips over, you get one more use of your ultimate. And your ultimate for your second side is usually more powerful. So once you have your character selected, you then look at your adventurers here. Now, you have your 3 basic adventurers right here. You have your fighter, you have your cleric, and you have your mage. Now, of course, none of the artwork is final, and these are just prototypes. But you have your fighter, cleric, mage, and here you have the champion, your scroll, and your thief. Now, on the bad guy side, you have goblins, oozes, skeletons, and you have the dragon, potions, and treasure. Now, as you defeat monsters and gain treasures throughout the game, there are 9 different types of treasures at the moment. When you open up treasure chests, you get to draw one of these random treasures from a treasure box that will be finalized. Of the treasures are pretty much most of the die faces. You have your thief, your mage, your potion, your fighter, your cleric, your scroll, which can be used just like the dice. But here you have dragon meat, which can turn 1 active dungeon dice into a dragon and set into the dragon's lair. You have the town portal, which can be pretty much used to evacuate the dungeon immediately and take the experience with you. And you have a ring of invisibility, which if you're facing the dragon, you can discard it to get rid of the dragons and escape without the dragon's treasure, but you keep your hide. Now, all of these go into a random thing. I have a bag here, and because it was supposed to be all random, I decided to just cut these out and put them on poker chips to make them all pretty much the same, so you can't feel them out. But they will be on, I would assume, little cardboard tokens once they're done. So when you would grab a treasure, you would just reach in, grab one out. Hey, you got a treasure. Now, the dungeon is done in levels. So when you first delve into a dungeon, you would start at level 1. Once you defeat level 1, you go to 2, and 3, and 4, and so on. Depending on the depth of the dungeon is how much experience you'll get if you decide to stop delving in the dungeon. Now we will explain that next. At the beginning of the game, what you do is you set the dungeon level to level 1, and you roll all 7 adventure dice. So in this case I have a cleric, a mage, 2 fighters, a scroll, a champion, and a thief. What you want to do is you want to roll a number of dungeon dice equal to the dungeon level. So in this case I rolled 1 and I have a goblin showing. Now, you have 4 phases that you have to do: monster phase, loot phase, dragon phase, and then regroup phase. Now for the monster phase, you fight monsters. Now you can use a fighter to defeat any number of goblins, 1 skeleton or 1 ooze. A cleric can defeat any number of skeletons showing 1 ooze or 1 goblin. And a mage can defeat any number of oozes, 1 skeleton or 1 goblin. The thief can defeat 1 goblin, 1 skeleton, or 1 ooze. But the champion may be used to defeat any number of goblins, any number of skeletons, or any number of oozes. So in this case, I can use any one of these dice showing to defeat that goblin. The scroll, on the other hand, if I used the scroll, it would allow me to re-roll any number of adventure dice and any number of dungeon dice. So I can cash that in, and I can re-roll all of these if I wanted to. But in this case, I'm going to use the fighter here to defeat this goblin. The goblin's removed. The fighter is put into the dice graveyard, the adventure graveyard. That die is no longer available. Now, after there's no more monsters in the field, we go to level 2 of the field. Or actually, you can decide to regroup. In the regroup phase, what you want to do is you can retire to the tavern, which is you can collect all the experience tokens. You can collect experience tokens equal to the number showing on the level die. So I can collect 1 experience and then end my turn. Or I could seek glory, which means I move on to the next level of the dungeon. So I'd move this to level 2, and I would roll 2 dungeon dice, because that's how many dice are showing on the level, the dungeon level. Or I could be a Stuff of Legend. If the level die is at 9 or more, you must retire, which means you collect 9 experience and you retire your turn. So in this case, I have level 2. So let's re-roll these dice. Okay, now I have a skeleton and a dragon showing. Any dragon dice that are shown go to the dragon's lair. When there are 3 or more dragons showing in the dragon's lair, you have to fight a dragon in the dragon phase. A dragon can only be defeated by 3 different adventurers. So in the dragon phase, I would have to use, say, a cleric, a mage, or a fighter to defeat this dragon. Or I could use a champion, a thief, or a fighter. Any different combination of 3. Cannot use a scroll. It's not an adventurer. If you defeat a dragon in the dragon phase, you immediately raise the level of the dungeon by 1, and you draw a treasure. And all dragon dice that are in the dragon's lair get put back into the dungeon pool. Now, let's say we moved ahead a turn to 3. And let's do 1 turn here. So I have a treasure, I have an ooze, and I have a goblin. Now, let's say I didn't like that ooze or that goblin. I don't want to waste 2 dice on those. So I'll take my scroll, I'll use it, and I'll re-roll any number of dice. I want to keep these are pretty good. So I just want to re-roll the goblin and the ooze, see what we get. It ended up turning into a skeleton and an ooze. Not a good roll. So in this case, let's use the cleric to defeat the skeleton, and we use the fighter to defeat the ooze. So those dice are used, put them to the graveyard, these dice are removed. Now it's the loot phase. If there are any potions or treasure chests showing, you can now use your adventurers to open up the treasure chests and quaff potions. Now, the thief and the champion can be used to open up any number of treasure chests that are showing. Any other adventurer can be used to open 1 treasure chest for 1, so it's a 1 for 1, so this mage can only open up 1 treasure chest if there were 2 showing. So let's say we use this thief right here to open up this treasure chest. You use the thief, discard the treasure chest, and you draw a treasure from the bag, or box, as it will be. So I draw a treasure. I got a town portal. So that's added to your field. And treasures can be used at any time. So if you had, say you had a cleric here, anytime I could use a cleric, I could sacrifice this treasure to have it act like a cleric. Now we'll talk hero abilities. Now the spell sword here has a specialty of fighter equals mage and mage equals fighter. So in this case that we have down here, we have 2 oozes showing in a skeleton. Now we don't have any mages here to defeat these oozes. However, the specialty of the spell sword is I can use fighters as mages. So I can use these fighters just like I would be able to use a mage. So I'm going to use this fighter here to take out both of these oozes right there, because fighters act as mages. And then I'll use a cleric here to defeat the skeleton. Just like that. Now, move up to level 5 since everything's defeated. Now I roll 5 dice. I have 3 skeletons, treasure chest, and an ooze. Now, I can use the cleric here to defeat all those skeletons. I can use this fighter to defeat the ooze. And I'll use the thief to open up the treasure chest, which I grabbed a fighter. So that's good because I can use fighters as mages and mages as fighters, so that's good. That leaves me with 1 dungeon dice for a level 6, or 1 adventure die for a level 6 delve. Now, I'm going to risk it, because what happens is, if you cannot defeat all the monsters in that level, you do not gain any experience, and your delve is over. You only get 3 delves in a game, so you basically get 3 turns to score as many experience and treasures as you can. So in this case, let's go into level 6. Okay, I have a potion, I have a treasure, I have 2 goblins, I have a ooze, and a dragon. So there's only 2 dragons in the dragon's lair, so no threat from there. I only have... This is actually a good roll to demonstrate the ultimate of the spell sword. I only have 1 fighter here. I have no other adventurers here. So I'm going to use this fighter to take out those goblins. Take out the goblins. That treasure goes back into the treasure pool. Now, I don't have anything else to defeat that ooze. The spell sword's ultimate here. You can use the spell sword as a fighter or a mage. So I can actually bring this into the fight and use him as a fighter or a mage. So I'm going to use him as a mage to defeat that ooze right there. So now that I've used his ultimate, he's tapped sideways. I obviously don't want to bother with any of these. I'm going to stop. So I collect my 6 experience right there. I am using these little stone counters right here to show experience. There will be experience tokens that will be with the game. Now that I have 6 experience, I look down here, 5 XP to level up to the battle mage. So I have 5 experience. So I now flip over to the battle mage, the master class of the hero. This is the novice hero. This is the master hero. The battle mage, still the same specialty, fighter, mage, mage, fighter, but the ultimate is discard all dungeon dice. So that's a very, very powerful ultimate ability. So if I was on, say, level 5 and I had 5 dice here, or let's go all 7 dice, I can take a look at that, realize it's too much of a threat, use the ultimate, not have to worry about it. Pretty much get a free experience in that case. Once you have had 3 delves into the dungeon, you add up all the experience you've accumulated throughout the game. So in this case, I would have 5, 10, 15. Every treasure counts as 1 experience for the end of the game, except for the town portal, which actually counts as 2. So in this case, I have 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I have 20 points in the game. you compare experience to all the other players, or if you're playing solo, you just have a total, and the person with the most experience wins. If there is a tie for experience, the person with the lowest number of treasures takes the victory, and if there are players that are tied for the lowest treasure amount, then you share a victory. Overall, I'm really liking what I see from the prototype. I have played the prototype quite a while. I've played quite a few games, I would say about 20, since putting this together the other night. And that's not an exaggeration. I've played this game that many times. It's really exciting. The risk versus reward is kind of nice. Some of the heroes are a little bit better than the others. For example, the minstrel. I had a really good time with the minstrel. Discard all dice of the dragon's lair. Basically, you can keep yourself safe from the dragons. The ultimate's the same, but the specialty is when using a champion to defeat monsters, you can defeat one additional monster of any type. So you can defeat all the oozes in there and an additional skeleton or goblin. So that's a really nice, powerful ability, so you want to keep your champions around. What I also like is how different all the heroes feel. All of them have a different playstyle. And it's very nice and refreshing because even though the game starts with 8, there is going to be expansion packs. And from what I've seen from the Kickstarter, all of the other heroes actually do a different variety of things, and it's really exciting because you can either pick your hero, or you can randomly get assigned a hero by shuffling and then just dealt out. Up to 4 people can play, and I have only played this game with my wife. She has actually beaten me. I've yet to beat her, but one of these days. So normally I end up winning a good amount of games we play against each other, but with this game it's strategic, but it's also luck based because it's a dice game. But even people who don't have a very high strategic value can do very well in this game, just from the fact of, okay, well, I can do this or this, and I can switch out. And it's impressive with the risk versus reward, as I said earlier. You could reroll all the dungeon dice that are active and possibly dump into 2 treasures or 2 potions, and then, you know, save yourself another level so you can go in one more time to get that one very precious experience that can pump you over the edge. But all in all, I'm very excited about this. It is currently in Kickstarter. A couple days left, but that is an instructional video on the basics of Dungeon Roll. Check it out if you haven't already. This video will be going up on Board Game Geek, so you can check it out. But thank you guys for watching. This has been Crafty. Take care. Bye-bye.